Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf and to the first book haul of 2021. The first of many, I'm sure, because I intend to film at least one book haul every month. I love to film them, love to share the books I bought with you, and you seem to like the videos as well. So I didn't see a reason to change. Anyway, let's get into it because I bought quite a stack of books for January. And the first one is this one, Betty Friedan, The Feminine Mystique, in this beautiful Penguin Classics edition. The book was first published in 1963. Betty Friedan, if you're not familiar, was one of the most prominent white American, I should say, feminists of the second wave. She was born in 1921 and died 2006. So the second wave, the 1960s, 70s in the US, Betty Friedan was one of the prominent figures. And this was one of the first influential books, so to speak, of that wave, that white feminist wave. And it explores the problem of white middle-class women who subscribe to this ideal that there are separate spheres of men and women are supposed to be homemakers and care for the children and be happy in the suburbs. Only a lot of them weren't. And this is one of the first books that publicly makes that an issue. So I read this book when I was a young feminist myself, which was a long time ago. I mean, not the feminist part, but the young part. So I guess I read it, in the 70s, end of the 1970s, and I have been meaning to reread it for quite some time. And if you're following my channel, you know that I'm reading a lot of feminist literature, contemporary feminist literature, but I also thought I would really like to revisit some of the, quote unquote classics. And I'm gonna buddy read this with my sister, feminist sister, Kathleen, from Kathleen Ann, who I'm sure will return to making videos in 2021. So we will be reading this. I think we will start probably mid-month. I'm really looking forward and wondering how I feel about the book when I revisit it after such a long time. And the second book I bought is also nonfiction, also about feminism, but we don't only want to read about white feminism, now do we? That would be not a good idea. So I picked up to reread this also modern classic, even though it's almost 20 years younger than Betty Friedan, and that is Angela Davis' Women, Race and Class, which was first published in 1981. Well, Angela Davis, I don't think needs an introduction, even if you're not a feminist. She's now in her mid-70s. She was born in 1944, and I have always admired her power and the way the intellectual power also in her writing, in her speaking, she is fantastic. And I've read only excerpts of this book in German the same time, I mean not the same time because it was published later, but when I was very young, and I've never read the whole thing in the original. So it's high time that I revisit it for partly, but let's just say read this modern classic of intersectionality in feminism, because that's what Angela Davis explores, the combination of women, Black women, and class issues. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one as well. And the next book I picked up is a work of translated fiction, and I actually bought that already in December, but I've never hauled it, so I thought I'll include it in the January book haul, and that is Natasha Appanaa's book, Waiting for Tomorrow, translated from the French by Jeffrey Strawn. Natasha Appanaa, can you see that? It glares again, is a French Mauritian author. And this, I read the previous book, The Last Brother. And this book is partly, at least what I understood, not set in Mauritius, but in France. And we follow Anita and Adam, who are from Mauritius, but have been living in France for quite some time. And the book opens when Anita waits for Adam to be released from prison. So that already is an intriguing premise. I picked up this book, first of all, because I wanted to read more by Natasha Appanaa. I want to read more translated fiction from, parts of the world that I'm not that familiar with. But this is also for the Reading Women Challenge. I will leave a link to their website down below. You all familiar with the Reading Women. Kendra Winchester is one of the founders and still one of the hosts, and they have a challenge with 24 prompts every year. And I picked this one for the prompt, I think it's number 19, read a book when the cover is designed by a woman. And this cover is designed by Kimberly Glider. And I have to admit, I hardly ever look at who designed the cover, or at least I didn't until now. So thank you, Reading Women, for making me aware of that particular, aspect of books and book publishing. But anyway, I'm looking forward to this one. It's not a very big book, so I hope that I will get to that in January. The next 3 books that I bought are science fiction books, because if you follow me and if you watched my Golden Plans 2021 video, you will know that one of my genre spotlights is science fiction. I want to read some of the modern classics of sci-fi that I've never read, written by women. And thank you very much for all your recommendations. I asked for recommendations, and there were many, and many I have never read, so thank you very much. And the first one I bought is Lee Brackett, The Long Tomorrow. Lee Brackett was an American science fiction and fantasy writer born in 1915, and she died in the 1970s, and I have never read her, which is shameful. So I picked this one up because it's one of her most well-known books, set in a dystopian future after a nuclear something event, and a very tech averse society, and we follow the adventures of 2 young boys in their teenage years up to their adulthood, when they are looking for this secret town where secret scientists develop secret technology. Something like that. So I'm looking forward to my first Lee Brackett, and the book was first published, by the way, in 1955. The next book is a reread, actually, or it's 3 books in one. I bought this edition of Ursula Le Guin's first 3 books in the Hainish cycle, Worlds of Exile and Illusion, it's called. Yeah, and I don't know whether exactly when this was published, but anyway, it's the Rocannon's World, and then Planets of Exiles and City of Illusions. And those 3 books were published in 1966 and 1967. It was Rocannon's World was Ursula Le Guin's debut book. And I wanted to revisit those 3. I've read them a really long time ago in a German translation, I'm sure, because I didn't read English back then in my 20s. And I just want to revisit some of Ursula Le Guin's earlier work, and also read books by her more in the fantasy genre that I haven't read before. So this one is a revisit, a reread, but it's been such a long time that you might even not call it a reread. But anyway, I will read it. Let's just stick again with the word read. I will read it certainly in January, because I already started. The next book, also sci-fi, is by an author that many of you recommended and I have never read, and that is C.J. Cherryh. And I picked this one, Down Below Station, which was first published in 1981. C.J. Cherryh is an American fantasy and sci-fi author, and like I said, I've never read her. I understood that she writes space opera, the big, ambitious books, adventure books, and there were so many. I didn't quite know where to start. So I saw this one, Down Below Station, and it somehow spoke to me. I mean, it won a Hugo, so you can never go wrong with that. And like it says on the cover about interstellar conflict and ambition, that sounds fabulous. And it's also about living planets. Pell was just the first living planet. Then came Cytine and later others, and a new and frighteningly different society grew in the farther reaches of space. Hey, what more do you want? So I'm really looking forward. This is a first one in a series. I'm not sure whether I will continue with the series or whether I will pick other books by her, but I certainly want to read more than one. But you have to start somewhere. So this is my first C.J. Cherryh that I will pick up. And thank you again for all your recommendations. And the last book I want to show you is also for a project that I will start in 2021, and that is read all the novels by George Eliot. I've read 2, Middlemarch and Silas Marner, and I will read the remaining novels in order of publication, and that means I will start with Adam Bede. Her first novel, published in 1859. George Eliot published a collection of short stories before, Scenes from a Clerical Life, but this is her first novel, and it's about a young village girl, a beautiful girl, of course, who has a faithful admirer, but there's also a squire who is in a seduction mode. And I mean, I didn't really look at what the book is about because I'm going to read it anyway. And it's her first full-length novel, and quite lengthy at that. So don't tell me what it is about, and I will report back once I read it. I'm not sure that I will read this in January already because I have a lot of reading plans for January, and it's already the almost mid-month, but February for sure. So you will have to wait a little for me to report back on this one. Anyway, these were the books that I bought in January, the first book haul of 2021. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I'm looking forward to your comments about these books I hauled or other books you want to talk to me about, and I will see you all soon in the next one.